Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really exciting. We are going to construct a completely future-proof automated Regtech platform right from the ground up. Look, the financial landscape is shifting incredibly fast, and we have to tackle these mounting regulatory pressures that are only going to accelerate as we head toward 2026. We are not just patching up old, tired software here. We're talking about engineering a fundamentally new compliance ecosystem.
Right out of the gate, I want you to ask yourself a pretty critical question. Is your current compliance system a bottleneck, or is it an actual competitive advantage? I mean, really take a hard look at your legacy systems for a second. Can they genuinely handle today's massive digital transaction volumes, or are they basically just slowing your entire operation down with endless manual audits, delayed batch processing, and totally fragmented documentation? Let's be real. In a world of embedded finance and real-time payments, relying on manual reviews is just a massive recipe for operational drag.
But to show you what's actually possible when we rethink all of this, just look at this incredible metric. By shifting to API-driven, fully automated platforms, one global bank saw a jaw-dropping 68% reduction in their manual back-office workload. The reconciliation accuracy shot up to over 99%, and their payment posting times plummeted from 2 days down to under 5 minutes. No joke. That is exactly the kind of transformative, game-changing efficiency we're going to map out today.
Okay, so here's our blueprint for this explainer. First, we'll identify priority use cases. Second, we'll dive into compliance-first architecture. Third, we'll look at building an iBoard data foundation. Fourth, we'll frame it out with microservices and APIs. And fifth, we'll power it all up with autonomous AI engines. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Priority use cases. We can't boil the ocean, so we've got to target the exact areas causing the highest operational friction first.
Because regulatory pressure is just exploding across digital ecosystems, we absolutely have to target the use cases that solve real daily headaches. We're building this to enable much faster KYC and AML identity checks right during onboarding. We need real-time transaction monitoring so we can catch fraud literally as it happens, not 3 days later. We're also talking about automated regulatory reporting, proactive risk scoring across all accounts, and having perfectly clean, totally defensible audit trails. When you optimize these specific drivers, you severely reduce human error and eliminate the risk of those incredibly costly violations.
Section 2. Compliance-first design. Here's where we make sure we don't make the classic mistake of awkwardly retrofitting compliance onto an old, rigid system.
Think about traditional legacy systems, sort of like leaky, siloed buckets that only communicate through delayed, clunky transfers. It's totally reactive. A compliance-first design, on the other hand, is like perfectly interlocking building blocks. It's highly modular and relies on event-driven orchestration. What this means is that compliance requirements are baked directly into the foundational architecture from day one. Your data models, your workflows, your permissions, they're all shaped by regulatory needs from the start, which gives you real-time visibility and seriously robust built-in governance.
Section 3. The iBoard data foundation. To actually pull off this real-time architecture, we need a totally flawless, concrete foundation for our data.
In the financial sector, we achieve this through something called an investment book of record, or IBOR. You can think of an IBOR as the ultimate authoritative data foundation. It takes incredibly fragmented data, stuff spanning multiple asset classes, different trading systems, various market data providers, and it funnels all of it into one reliable, centralized database. This is a total game changer because it gives investment managers and compliance teams real-time visibility into portfolio changes. It allows them to run instant regulatory checks well before settlement dates even arrive.
And honestly, the absolute best part is that it stops those dreaded internal data fights. We all know the chaos that happens when different departments are somehow keeping completely different records for the exact same positions. It's a nightmare. An IBOR establishes a single, unshakable version of the truth. Regulators can fully rely on it during their audits, and internal teams can make faster, far more accurate decisions without constantly second-guessing if their data is actually right.
Section 4. Microservices and APIs. Now that our data foundation is poured, let's build out the flexible steel framing of our platform.
When you're dealing with something as complex as a cross-border payment workflow, you've got to inject compliance APIs for things like KYC and AML directly into the real-time flow. This has to happen right before the virtual account service actually processes the payment to the beneficiary. The beauty of this modular setup? You can update your compliance checks on the fly without ever taking your entire payment network offline. It's seamless. But obviously, because we're handling highly sensitive financial data, we have to layer some seriously robust security into these APIs by design. We use OAuth 2.0 with PKC, which is basically the gold standard for secure, unshakable authentication right now. For data protection, we rely on tokenization, swapping out sensitive account identifiers for non-sensitive tokens. That is absolutely vital for staying compliant with strict frameworks like GDPR and PCI DSS. And then, right at the gateway level, we enforce rate limiting and anomaly detection to instantly shut down active threats and prevent any system abuse.
To make this API layer hyper-efficient, we leverage GraphQL interfaces. Listen, unlike traditional REST APIs that tend to just dump a whole bucket of unnecessary information on your servers, GraphQL acts more like a precision claw. It grabs exactly the specific regulatory data you asked for and literally nothing more. This eliminates data overfetching, which is an absolute lifesaver for keeping your platform blazing fast, especially during those incredibly heavy, cyclical month-end reporting periods.
Section 5. Autonomous AI Engines. All right, we've got the foundation, we've got the API framing. Now, let's install the actual brain of our 2026 platform.
The sheer exponential growth in global financial regulations over the last decade is just staggering. Human compliance teams using static, printed rulebooks and manual audits, they simply cannot keep up with this kind of volume and complexity anymore. The stakes are way too high. That makes AI not just a nice-to-have upgrade, but an absolute baseline necessity for the future resilience of our entire platform.
So how does this intelligent engine actually work? Let's walk through it step by step. First, it uses natural language processing to read and digest incredibly dense, unstructured legal texts and daily regulatory updates. Second, it instantly extracts the actual compliance mandate, or the intent, right out of that text. Third, it takes that new intent and automatically maps it directly to your firm's specific internal controls and policies. And finally, fourth, it deploys this freshly updated logic to automate continuous, near real-time surveillance of all transactions and user behavior.
Embedding AI like this completely flips the script. It literally transforms your entire operation from a reactive compliance chore where you're just constantly looking backward in time to find past mistakes into a proactive, predictive, and highly preventative governance model. It catches non-compliant activity and fires off alerts exactly as the activity is happening. This level of embedded supervision doesn't just save you from massive fines, it builds a rock-solid layer of digital trust that becomes a huge competitive advantage in the market.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for your fintech architecture as we look toward the future. When the regulatory rules inevitably change again tomorrow, and trust me, they absolutely will, are you going to be caught tearing down your entire building just to accommodate them? Or, because you built a compliance-first, API-driven platform on top of an intelligent data foundation, will your system simply adapt, update, and keep moving forward?